when you have off days, you're just going to continue to build on them if you choose to. So you can choose to live in that path, or you can choose to move forward. Welcome to the Confident Podcast. I am Lisa Tarkington, your guide to mastering confidence and leadership. As the business and life coach, keynote speaker, and the driving force behind LEAD, I am here to help you break free from self-doubt, silence the imposter syndrome, and step into your power as the person you're meant to be. If you press play today, it's because you're ready for something bigger. Each week, I'll bring you real, raw conversations and actionable insights that will empower you to redefine your leadership, reclaim your confidence, and transform into the unstoppable force you've always known that you could be. This isn't just another podcast. It's a journey we're on together. So buckle up and let's dive into this transformation. Your next level awaits. Hey, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of the Confident Podcast. I am your host, Lisa Tarkington, and we have an amazing episode coming up today. This is a topic, it's going to be all about how it's okay to have off days, quote unquote, and just like why it's important to understand that they're going to come into your life and how to overcome the mental block that comes with those, how to overcome those things. And I'll also be sharing some stories. But since I'm doing a solo podcast, I thought I would take a moment to kind of give you guys an update on my life and where I've been and what I've been up to. And well, I live in Michigan for many of you guys that have been following us, and it is getting cold here. So unfortunately, I'm not a cold winter girl. But the cool thing is with that comes Thanksgiving, comes Christmas, comes holiday, comes time spent to be with my husband a little bit more. And many people don't know this, but my husband has a job that he's gone a good amount of time in his career. And this will be our first Christmas that we get to spend together since our first year of dating. So we haven't been able to spend a Christmas together. He's always gone for work, and it's going to be so magical. We're so excited. We even got our Christmas card, which I'll share on the video with everybody. We just got our Christmas photos taken, and you will love seeing my dog Denver and Jackson and my husband Mark and we took him in the fall colors, and it was just a beautiful time. But I think it's also great to remind ourselves that during this time is also a time to slow down, to be with family and be with friends. And I've been reflecting a lot on this. You know, when I have worked my whole career, I usually don't take a lot of time off. And this year I decided that I'm going to take a few weeks off to be with my family. And we are fully going to be busy. I decided the other day that I want to rip up all of the carpet in our house and that I'm going to put hardwood floors down. So that's going to be part of our project over Christmas break. And I just really want to enjoy slowing down, working on my brand a little bit, but also reading some really good books. So I'll take any recommendations anybody has of a good series to read. And I think that that's where my life is right now. Is the hustle this year has been amazing. It's been incredible to see the growth that I've had, as well as my organizations and my coaching. But it's also really important for me to see that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to really reflect. And that kind of leads me into today's conversation, which is it's okay to have off days. And this is a subject and a conversation that I wanted to have today because last week I had a really off day and I kicked myself for 2 days for it. And I really, really struggled with having an off day because I have to be on a lot in my career. So whether it's with the podcast or whether it's with keynotes or coaching or speaking or just whatever we're doing. And I love that. I love my career and I love what I do. But that also means that having off days is really hard because I'm always on and having to share a message and be motivating, which you guys know that I love. But I say I love that because last week when I had my off day, I really felt it in my message. I felt that I wasn't showing up my best self. I felt that, man, if I would have just done X, Y, Z, it would have been better. And I just really, really got into my head about it. And what I realized in that moment is that I'm going to have off days for the rest of my life. I think back to a moment about 3 years ago where I literally had a keynote or a workshop 4 times a week for a month. So I did a crazy amount of workshops, which just isn't really normal for my schedule. And I remember having one that was just really off because I had been spent. Like I was like just needing a break. And I remember crying the next day and just thinking like I wasn't good enough. And I had that moment again last week when I was doing a webinar. It's the first webinar I've done in forever. And I just felt like I was a little off with it. I thought that it could have gone better. Also, I haven't done a webinar in a long time. So I was just learning through the process as well. And so I really had to be honest with myself about just setting myself up for better success moving forward and also learning from it and what was my experience and then how do I move forward. And so it's got me thinking, and that's why I really wanted this podcast to be about this conversation, because I thought it was important not only for me to look internally to figure out how I'm going to overcome these things, but also how to accept off days, which is really hard for someone that's a recovering perfectionist. And so I really want to dive into this conversation. And I shared my why, but I also think it's great to also share with you like different stories and different analogies because I've spent so much time reflecting on this. And when I started down this path of reflecting and thinking about having an off day, I realized that, well, everybody has an off day. And I'm not alone in that. Mine just happens to be that I want the persona that I have to always be that Lisa's professional, that she's motivating, that she's transformational. And I never want someone to leave and be like, that was okay. She did an okay job. And that's how I felt last week. I felt like I could have done better. There was many different examples that I can give myself prep-wise, during, my energy level, how I kind of wanted to make it a party, and I didn't. And so those were my reflections on, okay, even though I know these things, I'm going to work on it to get better at it. But also it was a reflection of I had been doing so much professional development and keynotes these last couple of months that I didn't give myself a break to really challenge myself to think differently of how I was going to show up. And so I was pretty hard on myself. I was really hard on myself. And so that's why I spent some time reflecting. And it was interesting. I then spent the weekend reflecting a little bit on, well, who else has off days in my life? And how do they show up? And how do they get through it? And I am a big football fan. I'm a big WNBA basketball fan. I'm a big fan of a lot of sports. And so what I was thinking about was, everybody, if you've listened to this podcast, that I'm a huge Caitlin Clark fan. And I was thinking about when she was going through her changes from going from college to WNBA to the pressures of the media. And when she had an off day, she literally had people in the media just talking about it. People weren't thinking that she was good enough. She couldn't have an off day. And if she did, everybody was talking about it. Last night or the night before this recording, the Detroit Lions played the Houston Texans. And Jared Goff, who is the quarterback for the Detroit Lions, had a really off game. So if I remember correctly, I think he had 5 interceptions. And I was reflecting on that I could see it in his face, and it breaks my heart to even see it because you could just see he was like, why isn't this working? He was so frustrated. And I could only imagine the mental space that was taking because in that moment, then he had to go back out and play again and back out and play again. When I have a day off, something can go wrong, but I'm not blasted to the media. I'm not blasted for everybody to see and then talk about it for days on end. And so I was thinking a lot about that with those two and just other people that I follow. There was another NFL player. I don't know his name. I can't remember, but he was in the news a while ago and he said he beat himself up for 6 days for missing a catch because that would have won the game for them. And I really thought about that and it broke my heart to think that a guy who we all moved on with our lives sat there and just beat himself up for having a bad day when he is such an exceptional football player. I mean, he plays in the NFL. And it really hit me that we all have to understand that this is part of our lives, that we're going to have off days. And it's so hard for us to not beat ourselves up. But when we do, we take away from all the things that we could have learned that maybe we won't make those same mistakes again, or we'll learn how to get through those mental blocks faster. And so it was very interesting for me. And it was actually kind of like a aha for me over the weekend to reflect on like, I'm allowed to have bad days, but so are they, right? Like we're all allowed to have our off days. It's just how do we come out of those things, especially when there's mental blocks, to be a better person. And I think one of the things that really comes up too is the role of self-compassion. So we're really hard on ourselves. I think everybody is their biggest critic. We're so hard on ourselves. And we have to show some compassion. We have to understand like, hey, that wasn't my best, or hey, I had a bad day, but that doesn't make me a bad person. That doesn't make me my expertise go down the drain. That just means that I had an off day and I get to choose what I do about that next. So self-compassion is very, very key when it comes to understanding like, hey, I had an off day. How am I going to overcome this? The next thing is when we have an off day, there is a moment where it allows us to really think and reflect and then realize like, maybe I need to rest and recharge. Maybe I have had my mind on XYZ things too much and not focused on certain things that I really want to do. You know, I was reflecting on some of the things that after a bad day or an off day, how I call my husband and we talk about things. And I told him, you know, instead of putting my energy towards talking to you about all of these things, I really want to put it towards things that I really enjoy, because all I'm doing is going in circles. And we both had this aha moment that when I do have an off day or things just aren't going right, how do I fuel that to refocus my attention on something that I can control in that moment that's going to lift me up, that's going to bring my energy back up. And one of the things that also your days off teaches you is that sometimes we have to rest. Maybe our body is telling ourselves something. Maybe it's also saying like, hey, I need you to recharge to be your best person that you can possibly be. And so it's just kind of like flipping that and listening to yourself. The next one, when you have days off, like I said, I kick myself pretty hard for it. And same to some of the sports athletes that I shared. But one of the things that I've had to do is really let go of that perfectionism mindset. So this is a limiting belief that stops us from doing a lot of things that really matter to us. And I've had perfectionism my whole life. I'm still recovering from it. But I think what I wanted in that moment last week when I was really struggling was I wanted everything to go perfect. I visualized it. I wanted it to go perfect. And because I had an off day, it didn't go the way that I had wanted it to. And I can feel it eat inside of me so much when things don't go perfect. But I realized one of the things too is when my friends have off days or when someone in my life has an off day, I don't think anything of it. I'm just like, yeah, I can tell you're just having an off day. Let's move forward, because I just know that you're not being yourself. And I don't think about it for days. I just don't think that they're a terrible person or not smart enough or whatever or capable enough. I just chalk it up as having a bad day. So where is that self-compassion? Where is that letting go of perfectionism when that happens for me? So I think that's also important to kind of picture, is that when you have an off day, really, really trusting yourself and knowing like, hey, it didn't go perfect today, but what am I going to learn to move forward? The next one is recognizing when you need a break. This kind of goes back to the resting and recharging, but it's really important to understand like, hey, I need to take a minute. I am not myself. I'm having a really off day. You know, I'll go back to Jared Goff. Like he had a rough game. I mean, they still won, so it's pretty great. Everybody else kind of rallied around him. But in that moment, he probably like really needed to reset. And he wasn't able to all those times in those moments. But many of us have that opportunity. So how am I going to reset? Start saying no to things that might get in my way of me being able to be very good at what I'm doing. And also, how do I set those boundaries as well? So we had a podcast recently where we talked a lot about boundaries, how I always thought they were black and white. Sometimes they are gray. And I think that was a really good reminder for me that when I set my boundaries, when I say no to things that don't serve me, when I'm giving myself those breaks that I so need, because we know our bodies. We know when we're just telling ourselves just one more thing. And I have noticed that I have more off days when I don't say no, when I don't set my boundaries, and when I'm doing a ton of other things that don't serve me or give me my energy that I need. I mean, literally this weekend, I had to work on a project that I just didn't have time to do this week. And I woke up so excited on Saturday to do it because I finally had a clean break to focus on it and I had the energy to do it. So again, I didn't have an off day because I was doing something that I love. I think the other thing that we have to do is we need to just get rid of the myths that having an off day and taking rest isn't productive. So I'm here to tell you that when I have an off day, I learn so much from it. So much. I already can take you back to last Thursday of everything I would have changed because I learned so much in that process. I didn't have my end-to-end built. I didn't have my music playing. I didn't do my intention setting before I did something. I just kind of went into it because I knew what I was going to be talking about. And what I didn't do also is think about some of the marketing materials that, hey, I wish I would have had these things ready. So these are all lessons. But I think the other thing too is they teach you so much when you have these off days because you don't want to continue to have them. I also think for a long time, I believe that I had to work around the clock because I wanted to get things done. And one of the things now that I'm in a different level of my career, my mindset, I'm not doing as much tactical stuff all the time. I have to have time to breathe because the more that I breathe and think about things, I'm able to be more productive, but I have to give myself those rest moments. And so I have done an exceptional job, I would say, over the last year of setting boundaries like I never have before. And I hope that that just continues to grow as I grow in my career, because looking back at like kind of the formats that I have to build for my coaching, my keynotes, for my company in general, it does take a lot of time to reflect. And so I think the myths about having rest is not productive is so not true. You know, I would say I don't take advantage of it, meaning like I don't make myself lazy with it, but I also believe that you need your sleep, you need that time to reflect, and you need that time to yourself without being like busy, meetings all the time. And so when I have these off days, like I said earlier, I use a lot of them for reflection. It's a lot of reflection time for me. And if you are not a reflector, I'm going to challenge you to add that into your life, because I was not always a reflector. I was a person that was like, okay, problem, solution, let's move forward. We have to figure this out. And I have done more reflecting in the last 3 years of my whole career. And it has been a game changer for me about moves that I make, also being okay with things, not saying things that I don't want to say. And also having off days gives you a lot of time to reflect about what you would change, how you're going to change things for the future, why you felt the way that you felt, and why you don't want to feel that way again. And reflection can come in a variety of different ways. You can journal about it. You can speak it to someone if you want to. You can sit by yourself. I have all these like Post-it notes that's kind of are all on my walls at my house that I do a lot of reflection on. And then I also make lists. I'm a list person, so I'm always thinking about like, what would you change? How would you do this differently? I also have a notes app where I just write my thoughts down. I usually do nothing with them, but it's just kind of getting them out on paper. And the next one is it helps you build resilience through accepting. So I had to accept that I had an off day. I had to accept it. I had to show myself some self-compassion. And I also had to understand that I can move forward. I just have to choose to do that. And I'm here to tell you that I know that off days suck. They really get into your head. I need a little bit more affirmation and validation from people on my off days than I do on my good days. But the more that you can accept that you're going to have those, and then also prep yourself for them and also put the right resources in place to help you, it is a game changer. And so it's also great to know that when you have off days, you're just going to continue to build on them if you choose to. So you can choose to live in that path, or you can choose to move forward. And I'm going to use Jared Goff and Caitlin Clark again for the examples, but both of them are people that have that resilience. They've accepted, like, yeah, I didn't play the best. I would have changed X, Y, Z, but all I'm going to do is learn from it. And I think that that is just so envious from them. And that's something that I attest to continue to do as well. And the last one is how off days can contribute to long-term success, which I reflected a lot on this, because I think when I have my off days, and I think back to when I had my off days, I don't think in those moments I thought like I was going to be successful. I told myself that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't smart enough, no one's going to trust me. I told myself all of these stories that weren't true. And looking back at every off day that I've had, it has taught me so much to help me move forward. I think about the day that I had really massive burnout when I worked in corporate America. I remember the day where I had a leader like yell at me for something and just caused me to go down in a ripple effect of negativity. I remember the day where I gave a presentation 3 years ago and someone told me that they didn't love that I always shared too many examples, and I took that to heart. And I think about even last week when I wasn't as prepared as I should have been. And these are all moments where we are so hard on ourselves, but it helps us so much with long-term success, because we learn that having an off day really can set you up for success because you learn so much from those moments. And when I was reflecting on putting this whole podcast together, guys, I'm just going to be honest, I just wanted to share that you're not alone. I wanted to show up today in my ball cap and zip up, and that's all branded by Lead, by the way, and just say, like, I have my off days too. I have my days where I don't want to put my heels on, where I am struggling to turn the computer on because I know there's so much work ahead of me for the day. I also know that sometimes I can't be on 24/7, and that's okay. You are allowed to have off days. You are allowed to have bad days. And when I say off days, I also mean like just not being yourself. And I was reflecting on that a little bit this week too, of like, why haven't I been myself? And I just like thought of all these different ripple pieces of me growing as a human, me surrendering to different aspects of my life. I'm going through a lot of change right now, and it's beautiful change. It's just a lot of change. And so I'm going to have off days because I'm reflecting, I'm thinking, I'm learning. And there's so many ups and downs when it comes to learning something new. But I think the biggest thing that I've been learning through all of this is that that's going to teach me how to be a better person. It's also teaching me where I want to put my energy. And it's also teaching me like just to be okay with who I am, even on the bad days. And I love who I am. And that's so important to remind yourself when you're going through this. So if you're having a bad day, an off day today, what I want you to do is start to flip the script. Allow yourself that 24 hours that you have to just like soak in it. If it was a bad day, maybe you had a bad presentation, a bad meeting, something didn't sit right, okay? Like give yourself that. But then it's your growth from there of what you're going to learn from it and how you're going to achieve success from it. And so for me, I've had to work on my perfectionism mindset or my imposter syndrome mindset of not like continuously like beating my head against the wall about what's going on, but just remind myself, okay, you learn from it. Now you have to do something about it. So instead of putting my feet into the mud and like sticking there, deciding how am I going to move forward. And that's what I want for all of you is from today to understand like it's perfectly okay to have off days, but it's also more important to learn from them. What are you going to do about it and how are you going to grow from there? Because we're all going to have more off days. Those off days are really tough for me, but man, I will tell you, they have taught me so much. And if you watch all these celebrities and sports and athletes and just everything, everybody has an off day. So you're allowed one too. And so give yourself a break. Give yourself that self-compassion. Let go of that perfectionism. Give yourself those breaks that you need. Set those boundaries and say no. Value rest and spend some time reflecting, because it will only help you achieve the goals that you desire so much and also help you reach the next level or version that you want for yourself. So to just kind of recap today, this is all about just, it's okay to have an off day. It's okay if it happens. But choosing what you do next is just as important. And so Please share this podcast with someone in your life. Share with me how maybe you're having an off day and how you're trying to get through it. And also know I'm here for you. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Lead Within platform that has so many tools that can help you. Or reach out to me for one-on-one coaching. I love helping people figure out how to flip those mindsets, how to communicate more effectively, how to help themselves in their life and within their career. So I'm here for you because I also have off days too. And so I can resonate with many things people go through. And I just wanted to help you get to the next level of yourself. So as I always say on every podcast, continue to spread love and kindness to everybody that you meet, and have a great day. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Confident Podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, head over to leadconfidently.org for today's show notes along with discounts to our services. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and follow us on Instagram and YouTube at The Confident Podcast. Your feedback means the world to me, and it helps more people discover the show. And hey, if you're feeling inspired to dive deeper, let's connect. You can find me on Instagram at Lisa Tarkington Official. Drop me a message and let's explore how I can support your journey to confidence and leadership. Remember, you have the power to choose confidence every single day. Keep showing up, keep striving, and keep believing in your potential. I'm cheering you on, and I'll see you next time.